Good morning and welcome to Memphis Monday 395, our 31st week of our 8th year. I normally avoid clickbait titles. As a matter of fact, I never use them, but I couldn't resist this time because it kind of really is what we're doing. I'm filming this a couple of weeks before it's published, but we're going on a family camping trip, and we always need tables, and and table extensions and this and that. And I've been using a tabletop idea, on our fence repairs. I showed it to you. Well, I'm going to make about 4 of those. We're going to try and make them a little bit more fancy, and I think they're going to be really practical, and I'll be able to put another video on the invention part of my YouTube channel. All right, let's knock off the chit chat and get to work. This is kind of the idea we're going for here. Just a piece of plywood with a strong back attached to it, and I've got handles on this one, but I found it very useful when I was working on the fence because I could set this thing up as a table anywhere I wanted. I could set it on buckets or sawhorses or wheelbarrows or anything I want. It's like a portable table. The one we're going to try to come up with today is going to be much lighter, and we're not going to put the handles on it because I think the trim we're going to put around the outside will be a convenient handle. Let's go look at our design. Here's a little schematic of our project. It's basically going to be 2 by 4 inch, quarter-inch plywood, and we're going to put this edging that's going to serve for the trim and the reinforcements for the strength component. We'll put it on square. It'll be 1.5 inch square trim pieces, and we'll put a dado down the middle and attach it that way. And then once all the trim is attached, then we will round it over in this second piece. Okay, so now what we're doing, you just saw me cutting that plywood. We've cut the 4-foot length. I cut the big piece of plywood into 2 pieces, and now we're going to run it through the table saw and cut it to width. Let's go take a look at that. Now, to make this happen, I put this sacrificial fence in here. And let me show you why. Take this off. If you're doing a 2-foot cut, your regular fence will sometimes let the plywood get under the fence. Here it looks like we're okay, but you can the plywoods can sag and get under that fence, and when that happens, it's disaster. So to make sure that doesn't happen, I just put a board which then that board will drop down below the level of the saw deck, and I won't have any problems. I got the table top stock cut. This stuff is called shore ply, and they use it as underlayments for floors. You know, you put it over the subfloor and staple it down, and I've been using it for years, not for what it's meant to be. That's what all these X's and stuff are about. So when you're laying out, putting down tile or rugs or whatever you're putting down, you have this kind of a grid pattern. But I've actually tested this stuff, submerged it in water, and it doesn't delaminate. It's not, you know, it's not waterproof. They don't claim it's waterproof. I just like it because you can subject it to a lot of abuse, and you know, it'll still come up swinging. So this is what we're going to make our tabletops out of. Our project only has really two parts. You know, it's basically got the it's, you know, basically got the plywood top and the pine edging, and this is the stock we're going to cut our 1.5 inch squares from. This is just some leftover wood. Let's cut some up and see what it looks like. Well, I just saw this trim, and I just thought of something. Let's go talk about it. Okay, I just got through saying that these tabletops are going to be 4 feet long and 2 feet wide. While I was over there on the table saw, I realized they can't be 4 foot long, and that'll be a quiz. Tell me why they can't be 4 feet long. They have to be shorter than that. I'll go ahead and cut up that trim, and you can be thinking of the answer. Okay, a hint, we've talked about the answer to this quiz many times, so think about it. Okay, the answer to the quiz is I can make those tabletops 4 feet long because my trim stock here is 8 feet long. So that means that, and my trim is you know, it's going to be wrapping around the edges. So my trim is actually going to be longer than 24 inches or 48 inches. So it would take 8 of these. It would take 8 of these 2x4s to finish the project instead of 4. So, you know, that'd be kind of wasteful. So I'll just cut down those tabletops, probably down 21 inches. What I'm doing now is cutting up my stock down to the 1.5 inch squares. Now this is not woodworking wood. This is, framing wood, and it's all twisted and warped. And what I've done is I've gone along the edge and put a flat edge on here so that it'll run right up against the fence, nice and flat. And I've cut these 8-foot boards into 4-foot sections, take some of the twist out of them. That's one way to get the twist out. Now this in here I may not be able to save. It's got maybe a little more bow in it than I can get out. But let's do this one next. Well, I had to pull the plug on that one because it wasn't getting, that bow wasn't getting any better, it was getting worse. See, it's against the fence down here, then it's against the fence down there in the bottom, the end, and then look at that, that gap there in the center. So this would be scrap, too far gone. What I'm doing now is putting this groove in the stock. It's called a dado, and my tabletop will fit in that groove. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead, and I got 16 of these to do, so I'm gonna go ahead and do them, and you can think of the next question, the answer to the next question. I'm gonna cut these down to 20 inches. This one's already cut down to 20 inches, and I'm gonna shorten them and make them 40 inches. Well, why did I pick that number? Is the question. Okay, here's the answer to the riddle of why we cut these down to 20 inches. They were 24 and I made them 20. And these are 48 and I'm cutting them down to 40. And why did I pick 20? And the reason is I want the table to be twice as long as it is wide. And that's just a familiarity issue. That's the way pool tables are, that's the way sheets of plywood are. That's the reason probably why we like the golden ratio and all that stuff. No one would probably notice, but I just like to do that. Well, I got the stock for the trim all done, and there's the tabletops over there. Since we're making 4 of them, I went ahead and put one together here to use as a prototype to show you, and also to experiment on how I was going to put the thing together and what kind of finish I was going to use. My notion is I'm going to use some of this deck and floor stain. It's oil-based, sunlit walnut. What I like about it is it provides a stain and also some a urethane coating. Okay, let's go ahead and make up another one of these. I'll show you how we get this trim around here. First little tip is with this grooved, you might make picture frames or chalkboards or whatever, but this grooved trim, it doesn't attach like regular trim. You know, with regular trim, you'd run it right out to the edge right there. That's what you kind of think you want to do. But if you do, you're going to be in big trouble, because what happens is, I'll get it lined up here. What you got, if you got it in the slot like that, I've got it in the slot. You want to pull. That has to come out where your plywood is touching right there right at the bottom of the slot. So the wood here doesn't come out to the edge out here. It goes to the bottom of the slot. Okay? So we're going to be bold. And since these are all going to be quadruplets, they're all going to be the same nominally. We're going to go through and cut all the trim to the length. All the side pieces will be this long, and then we'll get the measurements on the long edge there, and we'll just cut all the trim at once and fix it as we go along. Instead of cutting each individual piece, we're just going to gang saw them. So I need 6 edge pieces here that are 21.5 inches. Well, I said gang saw, and I didn't mean gang saw, of course. This is rather just production line. I don't normally do these production line things. I find it too boring, but in this case, I only got to do 6 of them, so it really makes sense. So I got a stop block there. Okay, now let's give this a test. Make sure it works. That one's right. Well, now I got another problem. See that groove in there? See how that moves? How that thing goes back and forth? It means that my dado has a high spot right in there. Anticipating that, I have my saw set up. What I think I'm going to do is just run all these through again and make sure that the groove is consistent. Doesn't have any high spots. Okay, I ran this piece through again. Let's see if it fixed our rocking. Okay, it doesn't rock anymore. So I'm going to run all 5 of these that I have, all 6 of these through the saw and do that dado again. Yeah, I got all the stock cut, all the 45s cut. But before we do any assembly, I'm going to go around the inside edge here and round it over. And it's just easier to do before assembly. I can do it on the router table. Let me get that set up and we'll do it. Now I'm just going to run them through the router table to get the inner radius here. Now I'm not trying to make these fancy. As a matter of fact, I'm not even sanding them, but this will give it a. You won't have to, when you're handling these things, you don't have to constantly feel that rough edge. What I'm going to do is turn one of the tables without legs into a chalkboard. I have some chalkboard paint, so I'll paint this sheet of plywood on both sides with the chalkboard paint before I assemble it. And so what I need to do now is go ahead and finish the trim for this one because the trim's going to be, you know, brown and this is going to be green, so I'll need to finish them apart. So what I'll do is paint this stain on these things. I'll try not to get any stain on the gluable surface because I'm going to be gluing these, so I'll avoid all that. But it's also held together with staples, so even if the glue fails, you'll never know it failed because it has a lot of staples in it. Okay, it's like a 3-ring for an easy project. It's like a 3-ring circus. We got parts drying and parts being assembled, and parts being processed. We'll do some assembly now, and the first deal is to take and put a bead of glue in the dado on each one of these. And then, before the glue dries, you thread your trim onto the plywood. And after I get everything threaded on, then I go around the corners and put a couple of brads in just to hold the corners together so they won't rotate and splay apart. Okay, now put down my brad gun and go to my staple gun. And I've selected staples that go through all the way through the dado. Okay, and I'll just put these like 5 on each side and then 3 on the ends. Now I wasn't going to do any sanding, but I changed my mind. My miter corners here look pretty bad. I guess we're going to call it for Memphis Monday 395. We built 3 tables without legs and 1 chalkboard. I have to call it because it's going to take about 4 days to fully coat the tables with the deck stain. And this deck stain takes 24 hours to dry. We can put a second coat on. Each one of these takes 2 coats, and you have to do one side and then the other for a total of 4 days. But anyway, these are pretty strong, and I think they're going to be pretty useful. So I'm pretty satisfied. Well, there you have it, another Memphis Monday 395, week 31 of year 8. Today we're going to build 4 tables without legs, or tabletops. But then we got the wild idea to make a chalkboard while we're at it. And so we did that. I remember now why I don't use that stained urethane mix, that deck stain. It takes too long to dry. It takes like 24 hours before you can put a second coat on. So I have to put a coat on one side, flip it over, wait 24 hours, flip it over, put another coat on, wait 24 hours, womp, womp, womp. It's a real pain. But anyway, I think they're going to be pretty useful. You know, if you have 2 other tables, you can use that as a bridge between them, like a table leaf. And anyway, I already know they work because I've been using the idea out here working on the fence. Since weather's cooling off a little bit, we'll be back to fence repairs. We got a deck to build, and those are always popular videos, so we got that to look forward to. So anyway, that's all I can think of. Nope, one more thing. Make sure you're back here next week for another exciting Memphis Monday. Thanks for playing along.